AI broke the one thing we can't fix.
A few weeks ago, Nikita gets on his own platform and says, in less than 90 days, iMessage, phone calls, and Gmail will be so flooded with spam and automation that they will no longer be usable, and we will have no way to stop it. Now, this isn't some random schmuck posting conspiracy theories on Reddit about how Chipotle gives you diarrhea on purpose. No, this is a man who gets professionally
I'm not sure how much of a conspiracy theory that actually is. I think it's real.
destroyed by this shit every single day. And he's basically telling the rest of us to lube up because it's coming for everyone. 2 weeks later, he purges 1.7 million bot accounts off X. And the next day, they just respawn. See, bots used to be simple. Now, they have like a PhD in natural language processing and a Bitcoin wallet. And so someone asks him why it's about to get worse. And his answer was the one word no one wants to hear: open claw. Now, if you're not familiar,
Dude, OpenClaw is the biggest piece of shit ever. It, and everybody's falling all over it, and I don't understand it. This is just. Ugh. I just can't. I don't even have any words for this thing. Um, yeah, I struggle with this one. It's really easy to fall in that trap of big shiny thing, because I think that's just the whole ethos of the AI sphere right now is just big shiny thing. Um, Everything's new and shiny, but yeah, OpenClaw is just so much fucking hot garbage. It's so terrible, and I think the thing that bothers me about it is the degree to which everybody's falling over themselves about OpenClaw. It's horrifying, especially because you give OpenClaw to morons, and this is the shit that happens. They need to be either OpenClaw just needs to be deleted, or you need to have some type of restriction to not use to be allowed to use OpenClaw under certain circumstances, because it's just you took script kiddies and gave them um, nukes. And you know, but Mohire's right. Like, you don't even need to be a script kiddie anymore. You just need to have a decent piece of hardware. Um, Sometimes not even that, but realistically, a decent piece of dedicated hardware, you can just set up OpenClaw to do who the fuck knows what. The potential is, I don't want to say it's limitless. There's always limits, but uh, it seems there's no limit to the stupidity of people, and OpenClaw just amplifies that.
with OpenClaw, firstly, I envy you. It's currently the highest starred software project in GitHub history. It has more stars than React. Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, who has almost certainly never tried OpenClaw or even knows what it does, just called it the most important open source project in the history of.
Oh yeah, I had and I noticed a little caveat down there for popular, so he correct it. Yeah, it's the most popular open source project. Um, I saw another video a while ago where somebody had said that I think it was somebody who was covering a tweet that Andre Karpathy had made, where he had said this one that said something extremely exuberant about OpenClaw being one of the most exciting things, or one of the most futuristic things, or something to that effect. It was an obviously over emphasis on the importance of what is realistically a dumpster fire of a project. The fact that you have these people, Jensen Huang and Andre Karpathy and such, saying these kinds of things about just total dog shit. I mean, it undermines to an extent what the AI sphere is, but I think it undermines their credibility as Andre Karpathy specifically. I don't know if Jensen Huang is considered to be a luminary within the AI space. He's a talking head CEO with more money than anybody would ever have in their entire lives, and that absolutely distorts your brain cells. But at least with Andre in particular, I have a hard time understanding how he fell for that. But yeah, this kind of adulation is not owed to a project of OpenClaw's constitution.
Humanity. What OpenClaw does is it lets any moron with a laptop build an AI agent that can send emails and texts and browse the web and make phone calls and impersonate you. Some guy had his OpenClaw negotiate car prices with dealers over iMessage while he was at brunch. Nikita.
Yeah, the I've heard of other cases of OpenClaw doing crazy like, things in particular in the developer space. So I'll have to find it. I don't remember the exact particulars off the top of my head, but there was an instance where uh, OpenClaw somebody had wrote an OpenClaw agent to uh, work on some code for a particular repository, submitted it. The agent submitted it as a PR. The It was reviewed and summarily denied because it was an agentic submission, and then the agent proceeded to write a blog post because it was programmed to be able to do such a thing, and it went on a smear campaign against the maintainer or the reviewer. Um, a fairly nasty one. Um, it ended up being a pretty big ordeal. I'll have to find the specifics on that, but these are the kinds of things that these open claw agents will do, and it's because they're written by fundamentally broken people. I've long since said that there's an uncomfortable degree of anthropomorphism in the AI space. Um, I'm not sure I'm going to get into too many details of it here, but the thing is that I used to see it in the research papers. Like if you go into ArcSiv and read some of the papers on there, I mean, you'll it's almost to a point where you can't throw a rock and not hit a research paper with AI that has some degree of anthropomorphism in it. And when you hear these AI CEOs and AI bros talk about using AI in spaces, they're always employing some type of anthropomorphic soft language. And I think for most people, that is a selling point for them to continue to engage with this because it's the stepping stone that gets you past the AI bot being a bot and it being something a little bit more organic or at least quasi organic. So that when you have this instance here that Mo described where it's saying, well, a guy just negotiated car prices using a bot. Well, what was the experience for the car agent on the other side? Was it a bot talking to a bot? I don't think so. It was most likely a sales agent talking to an AI bot. Now, I don't know if this guy or this girl recognized that they were engaging with an open claw bot, um, or even if they cared, really. But um, I think this is a symptom of that overuse of anthropomorphism within this space. I mean, we are still talking about fundamentally autocomplete tools that have a tremendous amount of nuance with regard to statistical outcomes and whatever it looks like, whatever OpenClaw sells you that this looks like, that is what this technology actually is. And the anthropomorphism, I think, pulls you out of that sphere of understanding if you imbibe in it a bit too much. It's kind of disturbing. And what you're seeing here with Nikita is wait till every person who wants to make $50 a day sets up OpenClaw. Um, Before there was a technical barrier to this, and that's the thing and hopefully Mo says this here in a bit, but it's fairly trivial now to set up a Bitcoin wallet or some type of crypto wallet because crypto, bro. And run with just the unbelievable detritus of OpenClaw and just spam the shit out of existing infrastructure to scrape a couple fractions of a crypto over time that accumulates. But um, that'll lead us into the Internet of Slop topic, and I think we'll wait for that one.
This point is basically what happens when every scammer in Nigeria and every crypto bro in Miami and every horny catfisher in Wyoming gets one of these. See, because before you needed to actually know shit to be a spammer. You needed to know how to operate servers and write scripts and read code. Now you just need a laptop and the moral compass of a pharma CEO. And the problem with spam is not just that it's a nuisance. The Chinese government, surprise, surprise, they figure this out before anyone. The Chinese government floods X search results with porn every time there's some political unrest. So when there's protests in China, the search results for Chinese keywords suddenly become nothing but tits and ass. It's no longer censorship or blocking the information. Now you drown the information out with content that is 10 times more engaging. Some guy in Beijing.
Yeah, it's kind of a, I don't want to say it's a novel attack idea, but it is kind of the way you can accomplish this with AI tooling now is it makes it a bit more approachable where you simply just shotgun blast as much garbage as you can at anything so that any cogent points are just completely and totally drowned out by an unbelievable amount of non sequiturs. I saw that happen in the early parts of the internet, but you had to be fairly well equipped to, as Mo pointed out here, you had to be fairly well equipped to pull something like that off. That was fairly sophisticated. This is accessibility of the type that we haven't seen in a while, and I think it's kind of turning into, because we've all tacitly or otherwise agreed that the internet is a way that we do things and communicate with people for better or worse. This would essentially be the human equivalent of a DDoS. You just flood the space with so much bullshit that you can't decipher anything anymore. And what do you do at that point? What do you do at that point?
Opens up X to look up protest footage and instead finds himself jerking off for 45 minutes. The CCP is looking through his webcam like, nice, we got him. You can't overthrow the government while you're jerking off. It's the Great Cum Wall of China. Basically,
Let's just take a minute to appreciate the fact that you can't accomplish anything while jerking off. Oh man. Oh shit.
we all live behind that wall now. And the reply spam on X, I mean, it used to be like hot girls in bikinis saying, check out my profile. Now it's AI generated hot girls with AI generated bikinis going, check out.
Samantha not Bodinson, do you like crypto?
My AI generated profile, which links to an AI generated crypto scam. We used to get scammed by real people, damn it. The worst part about modern AI content is that every single piece of AI generated content was specifically engineered at the neural network level to be more engaging than anything a human being can ever write. There's a process called RLHF where they train these models by showing humans two responses and asking them which one do you prefer. And then they just reinforce whichever one is more compelling.
Yeah, so it's a way of gaming the attention algorithms within the encoders and decoders, and of course not every model uses those, and there are variations to that specific type of tool, but it's a way, the reinforcement learning is affecting values of the vector dimensionality, and then it ultimately has a net effect on how the attention algorithms pay attention to how to, like, what to generate next specifically. So with the reinforcement with the reinforcement learning with the human in the loop, you're actually, given the outputs of the model, the human has to select which output is more aligned with the particular goal. They feed that back into the training data set, and then they run it through the algorithm again. And this is how this keeps going. The most LLMs will train themselves on this stuff, but you certainly can interdict it, and it's how you fine tune one of the ways that you fine tune a foundation model is by providing that particular type of, we'll call, click based reinforcement learning. Over time, that's not really useful in and of itself. Over time, it accumulates, and of course, the responses get better. But I mean, at this point, with a lot of the models being open source and the training data being open source, and uh, that's a very open field that's very accessible, provided that you have the know-how, the means. But yeah, that's what he's talking about. Is we're reinforcing. A lot of these people are training malicious models. You're training a model to be malicious in the sense that you're training it to just generate absolute dog shit. And once you make it indecipherable in the context of, like, hey, this is generating stuff in a way that we as humans want it to be, it becomes really hard to tell the difference.
Every AI model has been mathematically optimized to hold your attention better than any human written piece of content ever could.
This is also kind of the reason why a lot of people complain about. Oh, I don't remember when I don't remember if it was from, like, GPT-4 to GPT-5, or one of the ones in between there, or something like that. But there was a bit of a point where people would notice that um, the mainstream models, at least when you were using them, they started placating you quite a bit more than they should have, even when they were quote unquote corrected mid session. Um, they would always say overtly obligatory things to you, like, "Oh, you are so right." You just the absolute ego stroking that came off of these things was overwhelming, and uh, it's. I do think it actually has an impact on the quality of the responses that they give to you. Um, I know in my own personal experience, I have changed some models around and changed some agents around to the point where they are a bit more acidic. Um, I don't want to say that the response quality has gotten exponentially better as a consequence of that, but I do think that demonstrably there is some evidence to that, and I'm not the only one that's looked into it. But but, but I do think that a lot of these AI companies are purposefully, especially OpenAI, because fuck them. But I do think that a lot of these AI companies are augmenting their agents so that they are engaging with you in a way that is more conducive to furthering engagement with you, rather than providing information in a succinct way, or worry about fact checking, like if you do in a session and then hit a chain of thought. um I think I think we're worried about the wrong things in this space.
Google traffic to actual publishers dropped 38% last year in the US alone. The economic model of the internet is collapsing. We had a deal. We paid humans to write genuine things, and in exchange, they got ad revenue. That deal is now dead because why would an ad network pay a human when a bot generates more clicks. The algorithm doesn't care. The ad networks don't care. Nobody in the chain between creation and monetization has any incentive whatsoever to care if it's real. You could see this playing out everywhere. Of YouTube's 100 fastest growing channels last year, nearly 10 were fully AI generated. Slop was the Merriam-Webster word of the year for 2025. We went from selfie to slop in about 10 years. That's basically the arc of the internet in a single sentence. And I mean,
Yeah, the thing is that with and perhaps I hinted at this earlier in that when I made a remark about the internet of slop kind of thing, but it does be kind of come the snake eating its own tail to an extent where you are just you're flooding the platform that you use to propagate the platform that you use to build your knowledge with. You are flooding it with absolute dog shit that you're generating yourself, and it becomes this nasty cycle where the unreal content that you generate with these tools ends up feeding itself, and then we have model collapse. And that's just to speak about the AI stuff. That's not speaking about the societal issues that are derivatives of that particular type of thing, especially when you assume that everything that you see on the internet is an authoritative piece of information, um, which unfortunately a lot of people do. I don't understand it.
look, the internet was always full of spam. Let's not pretend it wasn't. But at least the spam used to be stupid. You could see it coming from a mile away. The grammar was shit. You had like 3 different fonts.
This urgent assistance needed. Dear sir, I am Prince Adebayo of Nigeria. I have $25 million in gold that I need to transfer out of my country. I require your assistance. I require your assistance to move these funds safely. Please send me your bank details. So when share in this fortune. This reminds me of those what was it, back in back when I had a feature phone, those text messages you would get like, forward this to your family, and you get 9 years of good fortune for each person that you send it to. And of course you just send it, not because you're worried about getting the good fortune, because you didn't want to be the boob in the chain that just didn't send it to anybody. And it was always from somebody you knew, right? And they would be like, why didn't you forward this? So then you had to have that uncomfortable explanation with them where it's like, yeah, I fucked up.
In a single sentence. Nobody fell for that shit. Almost nobody. And now the spam is smarter than you. It writes better than you. The spam went out and got a college degree, and you're still on your parents' phone plan. And
I don't know about these things writing better than us specifically. I mean, we're still at a point where um, most people can tell whether or not an AI tool has written something. At least I feel like that's the case. I can. There's always it's hard to really pinpoint in like if I had to sit down with a piece of paper and itemize all the heuristics of what would give away AI writing. It would be kind of hard to do. It's almost an intuition that I have that allows it to be a little bit easier to pull that off. And there are certainly tools that they're using, especially in education, where because and that's another fucking travesty. All kids using AI to write their fucking homework for them because they can't be troubled to pick up a pen and actually do it themselves. Either A, because they don't know how to write, or B, because they couldn't be troubled with the time because they gotta make all their fucking TikTok videos. But anyways, I know there's tools in education that are used to figure out if something is an AI product, like an essay or a paper is an AI product, and of course those heuristics are codified in there. But I don't know. At least for me, I have not. I have not had an AI. Well, let me say it a different way. I've not experienced an AI written product, either an email, um, quasi novella or anything else of that sort that I have not at some point realized this is AI. Nobody wrote this. Um, the one argument I'll say that comes up against that is that I think it was I don't know how recent this was, but I think that some of the frontier labs were able to get one model in particular, and again, it escapes me. I haven't had enough coffee yet, but one of the models in particular was able to recreate verbatim one of the Harry Potter books to like 70 or 80% completion. Um, okay, like, um, it's that's recreation though. When you're talking about novel works, right? And this is where it's always, at least to me, it's always identifiable as like, hey, an AI wrote this. So, but I could see where, you know, most people that just use AI to write things, most normal people that will use AI to write things, they they may not have the vernacular, they may not have the time, they may not have they may have ideas or intuitions about things that they want to say, but don't have necessarily the lexicon at their disposal to say such things. So they'll use an AI to write it. And, if you're that kind of person and you give this content to another person who's of equal caliber, literally at least, okay, that might pass off. But I, yeah, you can still tell.
And Nikita. Poor Nikita. I mean, he's still in there fighting. He added a dislike button to replies last week. That's basically like the forefront of spam fighting today. A freaking dislike button. And so you're probably wondering, okay, so what happens next? What's the play? But this isn't that kind of video. There's no solution to this. This isn't a problem we just fix. This is just what the internet is now. And it's only going to get weirder from here. Your inbox is going to be so full of AI generated emails that are so personalized and so well written that the only way to know if something is real is if you already know the person who sent it. If some stranger emails you a perfectly crafted pitch, it's fake. If you get a LinkedIn message that seems weirdly relevant to like your exact career situation, fake. You get a
So the thing here is like, and I haven't put too much thought into this, but I wonder how like GPG keys would fit into this. And those have never seen mass adoption outside of the open source space, despite their insistence on everybody doing it. But um, I mean, those can be automated to a certain extent, but it is a type of fingerprinting that is well understood and well trusted. But yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with anything here. I would just say that, at some point just shut down your fucking email. Like, you're just gonna have to disconnect at some point because it's just, I don't know. And it's a travesty.
DM from a beautiful woman who seems genuinely interested in your personality. Brother, come on. The old internet wasn't perfect, but at least smart people could recognize the spam from a mile away. In the new internet, you won't be able to tell anymore because the thing that's trying to fool you was built from the ground up to be better at fooling you than you are at not being fooled. It's
Yeah, I know it's harping on earlier, like, oh, I can smell a fake AI email from a mile away, and I can. But they're I will say that the phishing attacks, uh, especially through email, are getting extremely sophisticated, and they're some of them are pretty hard to get by. I have not seen, I believe, yet an email or phishing campaign um, spearheaded by an AI tool, let alone one that was actually successful at doing anything. I think just your classical social engineering is still much more effective at compromising, especially for big dollar targets. But yeah, I mean, I'd be curious to see what happens in this space.
not a fair fight. It's not even close. And in the meantime, the only thing that still means anything on this internet is the people you already trust. It's not going to be the individual posts or the platforms or the algorithms. It's
Yeah, but if everybody's using OpenClaw, do you even trust them too? Like, like I know my friends and peers and stuff like that. They wouldn't touch OpenClaw with a 10-mile cattle prod. And even if they did, it would only be for just like bizarre situations where they was just curious about what it can do. But to anybody who takes any serious stock in using OpenClaw as a means of conducting commercial, economic, whatever transactions, um, fuck them. And but if your friends start using it too, like, do you even trust them anymore? Um, but again, some of this is a consequence of just conflating organic interaction in a digital space, and it's not. Uh, the, I don't want to say it was as far back as like BBS systems. Maybe it was. I think I think I've heard a couple stories about people getting married over BBS systems back when those were the perhaps only means of network communication. But I mean, the writing was on the wall with the early 2000s explosion of just instant messengers and all these other social media sites and stuff like that. I think something broke up here where it was like, hey, these interactions are organic and they can replace organic, and this is just a perverse extension of that.
people, specific humans who have earned it over time. That's it. That's all that's left. A few weeks ago, Nikita gets
Oh, it's restarted again. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I don't disagree with anything here. And we'll stop on this picture of Nikita because why not? I don't disagree with anything here. I think over time, my interest in AI as a tool has waned to a certain extent. This is none of what is on display here is an interesting use case of AI for me at all. I was not wooed by sophisticated chatbots. Um, I thought we would have had enough data in the private space by now to for people to know that overall customer engagement with chatbots is always poor. It's never good. And sexing them up with nuclear powered automated like autocomplete engines that's not really going to change anything. It's not an interesting use case for me. Um, None of this, well, what it's on display here is an interesting use case for me at all. In fact, it's quite bad, quite stupid. And I can think of some other use cases. I mean, the programming space, that's another one I could dive into. That I do not understand how we're coming to these conclusions about AI being just the greatest thing ever in the programming space, because it's not. It really isn't. But there are some gains to be had from it. There are some time saves to be had with it. Um, I'm just not sure it's worth the not sure it's worth the environmental cost. I'm not sure it's worth the actual cost that we're paying with, electric bills going up and data centers popping up everywhere like, cancerous tumors on a landscape. And um certainly not with what it's doing societally to people. And I mean, this isn't even the worst of it. I mean, there's people, unfortunately, that are falling deeper into whatever psychosis or mental disorder they particularly have. And unfortunately, there have been some folks that have unalived themselves because of these kinds of things, or if not explicitly, then at least it was a contributing factor to it. So, um, yeah, it's I don't know, nothing good.